Think back 10 years ago. Had you heard of Cape Verde? Not quite African and not quite Portuguese, a vibrant mix of both worlds. The islands of Cape Verde are as beautiful as they are mysterious. It was a transatlantic slave trade that put these islands on the map, and 10 years ago, TUI put them on the tourist trail. And the industry boomed. It's no surprise. With the constant beat of traditional music, turquoise seas, sandy beaches, world-class surf, and surreal lunar landscapes. I've been given the opportunity to travel 2,700 miles across the Atlantic to visit Sal, an island steeped in history and natural wonders, where suddenly there are more tourists than locals. I want to engage with its people, absorb its unique culture, and at this most critical time in our planet's history, dig deeper into the reality of tourism and learn how we as tourists can improve the way we travel to ensure a sustainable future for an industry we all love. We've been guided along the way by two amazing charities, the TUI Care Foundation and the Travel Foundation, who work closely with local businesses and hotels. This trip was to become one of the biggest eye-openers of my travels to date. So let's go back to the beginning. At Holiday Extras, we believe in making simple choices to improve the way we travel, to find solutions that benefit the environment and lessen our negative impact on a destination. So our journey began in an airport lounge at Gatwick, ideal if you're trying to avoid buying plastic whilst filling up on delicious food before your flight. We chose to fly direct to Sal with TUI Airways, the world's most carbon-efficient airline. And upon landing, we were met by our pre-booked transfer driver, who took us straight to our greener hotel on the southwest coast of the island.
So we're starting our day having breakfast with a view. It kind of reminds me of what the moon would look like. It's very rocky, but that view is just gorgeous. And we're not wasting any time. We're starting today with an island tour, and this is with a company called Explore CV. I'm really looking forward to seeing what today has on offer.
Booking an excursion on a trip can be the highlight of any holiday, but we want to emphasise the importance of finding a responsible tour company. Explore Cape Verde were recommended to us by the Travel Foundation for being passionate about the island's wildlife, whilst providing eco-conscious excursions. We booked on an island tour, and our tour guide Jordi was a knowledgeable marine biologist. The tour started in the coastal town of Santa Maria at the fishing pier, which is the soul of the island. Jordi showed us around and explained that the fishermen return around 11 AM every morning to their wives who are waiting at the pier ready to sell the catch.
We feed the locals fishermen, it is a sustainable fishing. We also sell the rights for the European Union to fish here in Cape Verdean waters.
Cape Verde got its independence in 1975. As a former Portuguese colony, they absorbed the Portuguese influence and their blood, mixed with the Africans who'd settled here, and essentially created their own race, Creole.
It's like cultural to jump from the pier. If you come here and you didn't jump, you cannot see that you've been in Sal.
Hey. Did you hear that? So yeah, we have to jump from this pier. 1, 2, 3, jump!
The no stress lifestyle here, it seems the whole time.
No stress.
Next up, we visited a natural reef, a popular feeding area for lemon sharks and a place for tourists to safely see them in the wild. You can rent water shoes to protect your feet from the rocks and carefully wade in to watch them hunt. Jordi's care and consideration for the sharks was very clear, insisting we keep a fair distance as not to disturb them. Other guides let their groups go as far as they wanted. Some even chased the curious pups, which reminded me of the importance of booking with a responsible company. This tour also included a lunch stop in the quaint fishing village of Palmyra, which gave us a chance to sample some of the local delicacies, including tuna steak and and some very strong local rum.
No stress.
Cape Verdean way.
Jordi spoke to us about the tour guide training he'd received from the Travel Foundation. He was telling us how important the training is to run a conscious tour.
Whenever you're dealing with wild animals, if you want to do an ecotourism, you have to have training and know how to behave with the wild animals. A way for them to keep the guests safe as well, because especially with lemon sharks, you have to know how to behave with them.
Right, okay, because I guess some guests, some tourists might get overexcited.
Yeah, exactly, because everybody wants to dive with sharks, want to be close to sharks. So whenever they get there, they can start becoming a little bit excited and try to get closer and closer and closer. But well, in the end, we are in their natural habitat. So keep a safety distance. Try to don't touch them, to don't feed them, because that might change their behavior.
Right.
And as well, feeding them, there are some disease they can develop. So those are some advice that we give.
But the tour wasn't over yet. After lunch, we entered the inside of an extinct volcano to learn about the salt mines which used to be in operation.
The reason why we have people here living is because of these salt mines. They decided to change the name of this island to Salt.
Sal means salt.
Salt.
It all makes sense now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The salt produced here used to be exported to Europe, to like Belgium colonies, French colonies, but mainly to Brazil. Nowadays, this is a more touristic point, touristic attraction, where tourists can come here to have a floating bath and get 10 years younger in our Lazarus Lake.
Similar to the Dead Sea, the water in the lake is dense with salt, allowing you to effortlessly float. The elements in the water are believed to have healing properties for the skin, and so the mines now act as a natural spa. Feeling very relaxed, the sun was setting and we drove back down the island to make our last stop of the tour at the famous Kite Beach. Warm winds from the Sahelian belt sweep across from Africa, resulting in the eastern isles of Sal, Mayo and Boa Vista being flat and dry and a mecca for water sports. We were so impressed with the tour that we decided to book another one with Explore Cape Verde, but this time on sea. We sailed along the west coast, past the famous Ponte Preta surfing beach, to the waters of Monteleo. The best part was jumping off the boat and free diving amongst the colourful fish and shipwrecks. Visibility here is amazing, so if you're a keen diver, I would highly recommend it. We had reached the halfway point of this trip, and everything we'd experienced so far had fueled my interest in the importance of protecting wildlife from the impact of tourism. Over the next few days, we were to explore the topic further and meet with experts who are working on the island to make it a better place to coexist. We were introduced to a charity called Project Biodiversity, a group committed to conserving and restoring the island's unique ecosystems. The organisation work heavily to protect the turtles, which lay their eggs on beaches that are now covered in litter and surrounded by hotels. We visited their hatchery and got the chance to see their volunteers dig up the nest they had recovered and watch hundreds of baby turtles being saved. The charity see a great importance in educating tourists about the turtles to encourage support and donations. They run talks at their hatchery in Ponte Preta.
We moved over 1,300 nests into our hatchery
Before taking the baby turtles to a safe release point on another part of the island. Island life seems idyllic, doesn't it? Secluded paradise with guaranteed weather, golden sands and exotic flavours. But unfortunately, there's a lot more behind the perfect Instagram photo. And Cape Verde is a great example of this.
Nothing grows on this island. They don't produce any of their own crops or anything. Everything has to be imported from the other islands around Cape Verde or from Europe. Also water. I think the locals will drink water that's been purified, seawater that's been purified, but
tourists, it all gets shipped in with bottles, which is really sad, but I don't think there's any other way around it. I'm not really sure what else you can do with an island that has one day of rain a year. The Travel Foundation's research highlighted that hotels create almost half the total volume of waste sent to the island's landfill, and that the strong winds cause that waste to be blown right across the island, littering the landscape and then the ocean. You know, there are believed to be nearly 50,000 pieces of plastic in every square mile of ocean, which can take up to 500 years to decompose. But it doesn't have to be this way. With a little planning, you can make a huge difference when you travel. It can be as simple as packing reusable bottles and bags and choosing to stay in a responsible hotel that cares about the environment. The TUI Care Foundation and the Travel Foundation have together been working on the Greener Hotel project. We invited Dalia and Ricardo from the Travel Foundation to talk to us a little bit more about the project and the importance of choosing a greener hotel on your travels.
So Sal is one of the 10 islands of Cape Verde, and 9 have residents on them. Just for you to have an idea, I think about 80% of what we consume is imported. The visitors that we receive during the whole year sums up to the quantity of population that this whole country has. Tourism is a very, very, very important sector and brings a lot of pressure because the waste it's a natural byproduct, you can say, of tourism. What Ricardo has been doing with the technical staff of the hotels, finding ways that they can reuse and recycle the waste that is being generated, but especially finding out ways that we can prevent the waste in first place. So, and then the TUI Care Foundation is our major funder for the Cape Verde program, which is a great support
So I guess
to
TUI are the
implement.
ones that are bringing in the majority of tourists. They have such a massive impact on this island, so it's brilliant that you guys are working together to make this happen.
With the support of Travel Foundation, but also by themselves, they have to come together and stand for this island and for this destination.
So what we're trying to do right now is to create the momentum of continuity through the local stakeholders.
You give them like a little leg up. You say,
Exactly.
"Here you go," and now we've given you all the help.
Please
we can give
continue.
you. Off you go.
Amongst everything I've learned about sustainable travel over our time here, I can see why Cape Verde appeals as a brilliant holiday destination, especially if you're looking for some winter sun. So if you're planning a trip here, then here's a lowdown on some useful tips to know before you visit.
The official currency is Cape Verdean escudo, but it's a closed currency, which means you can't bring it in or take it out. However, euros are accepted everywhere here, so we found this to be the easiest currency to use. And you're going to need to bring it in cash because not everywhere accepts cards.
You'll need a visa to come here, and you can get one of these online at least a week before you fly.
Failing that, it will cost you €25 at the airport on arrival, but just be warned, there might be a big queue when you get there.
Portuguese is the main language spoken here, but locals do also speak Creole, which is a mixture between Portuguese, African dialects, and some other European languages.
Now, Sal is a really touristy island, so English is spoken pretty much everywhere, especially in the hotels and on the excursions. When it comes to food, a standard dish that you'll find in pretty much every restaurant here is fresh fish and a side of potatoes or rice. And it is delicious. In fact, it's caught fresh from the harbour just behind me here. Now, if you're vegetarian, there isn't a great deal of choice, but plenty of restaurants will serve pizza and pasta.
As we come to the end of our journey here in Sal, make sure you hit subscribe. We have loads of travel guides on our channel and lots more exciting destinations to come. And in Cape Verde, they have this saying, no stress. And it's so evident in the people and their culture. But what is also really evident is the impact that tourism has had on this island. We can help this beautiful place build its sustainability movement, help it become a marker for how other tourist destinations can reverse their negative impacts. So come to Cape Verde and enjoy what these colourful islands have to offer, sustainably.